All right, shalom, y'all. Shalom. It's Michael Israel, and what we're talking about today is cutting through the persona. Cutting through the persona, and what we're gonna do first is we're gonna just go through, and we're gonna define um, what a let's get some definitions of what a persona is. Okay, so we're gonna go through that. Um, if I could, if I could get an audio check, somebody could let me know how the audio is in here, and we'll press for it. I know there's not a lot of people in here this early, but it looks like the audio's good though. I'm looking at it. Yeah. All right. Shalom, sis. And the audio's good. I appreciate it. So what what we're talking about is cutting through the persona, and you'll see why that definition makes sense. And it brings the question: what exactly is a persona? And it's the uh it's the mask or facade that people present to the real world and often to themselves. So if you're not, again, we did a whole series on the journey inwards, about people getting to know themselves. The persona is the you that you present to the world and to yourself. Is what you tell yourself, or is who you tell yourself, and it's who you tell the world or show the world that you are. But a lot of times, what you find is, like I said earlier in the definition, it's a facade. Okay, um, and a facade is just a false appearance, a deceptive front, an outward appearance that conceals a different reality. And again, going going right back, all of us maintain a persona. All of us maintain a facade to some degree, and this is a part of examining yourself to see that what they call that Adamic nature, that sin nature, that dark side of yourself. That is the meat of this walk of us getting ourselves together, of us getting our minds right, is examining and just doing that work of, like I said, getting to know yourself. Who am I really? Who am I um beyond this facade? You know what I'm saying? And that's where you have to really get into the word and take advantage of the fact that I think a good verse is Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12. I'm going to pull that up real quick, because that kind of, let's see, and I'm going to get it. Let me see if I can find it in the KJV. Here it is. So Hebrews chapter 4, uh, verse 12, it says, "For the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit, and of the joints and marrows, and is a," now listen, "and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart." Okay? So it can discern, able to perceive and detect something. Okay, it's able to do that, or able to recognize and perceive differences. So it's able to just slice right through all the fake stuff. You know what I'm saying? And to where it's going to be clear, it's going to be obvious. Okay. And, you know, that is Yah's word is what you need. Yah's spirit is what you need to cut through the persona or the false appearance we present to the world, to people that on the outside, and that we present to ourselves. And you could see some people, man, they are so, you can be at a point in areas of your life that your um persona, the person you present yourself as, is so at odds with who you really are. A lot of times it'll come across like as soon as you meet people. Sometimes if you have like a high level of discernment, you could discern it in the however, now listen, but that's not the point of this lesson. Like that's not the end all be all. What matters if you're able to discern in somebody else. Um, if if you're if you're able, it's not about if you're able to discern in somebody else that their persona, the way they carry themselves, is a facade. It's a fake front or whatever they present themselves. The heavy labor, you know what I'm saying? The core nucleus work, the deep work, the real weighty matter is seeing the facade that you put up, that you tell yourself, and see whether it lines up with who you really are, what you really have on the inside of yourself. That's the core nucleus of this work. Um, because when you neglect this, uh, when you neglect cutting through the persona, when you neglect cutting through the facade in yourself, and this is just another way of saying what I've been saying. I'm just breaking it down from a different perspective. But when you neglect that, that's when you end up, you have a lot of stuff operating in you that you're unaware of. And this is why the word tells us examine yourselves. You know what I'm saying? Um, the other Bible verse comes to mind. It says faith. Uh, oh no, it says be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourself. So what does it look like if you're a hearer only of the word? What does that look like? Well, you hear it, you're able to retain it, you're able to quote it real good, you're able to put up a real good facade because you're able to quote it. You have a real good religious persona you put up. But when the rubber meets the road and the pressure's on and you're in the heat of the moment, you see the real you shine through, and the persona or the facade just falls away. You see what I'm saying? So this is why, like I've been saying, it's amazing. Like people will confidently declare, things about other people and all that, and it's like what you see in this dead teas and a lot of finger pointing and all that. But I mean, it's a waste of time. I get it. I mean, I'm not saying don't expose uh, things that are false, but when the the bulk of the focus has to be us looking at ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Working our own salvation out with fear and trembling, and not getting caught up in distractions, external distractions that take our attention off of us working our salvation out. Because at the end of the day, you know, the Most High, each man's gonna have to answer and stuff. So I could say, and that's cutting through the facade is what brings true humility. You know, it's gonna be real hard to have a a high, lofty opinion of yourself when you're not just deceiving yourself by your persona, okay? And it's very easy. Um, it's very easy to deceive yourself by who you perceive, by your perception of who you are, and it's not really a true, honest, deep perception. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna pull something up real quick. Okay. Okay, there we go. But yeah, so how are you gonna what are some ways people uh use the mask of who they think they are um to deceive themselves? I'll tell you, and it kind of ties into the lesson I did yesterday. So yesterday I I talked about people neglecting their spiritual family. Um, you know, what what people do is it's almost like a one way filter, or like we call it in on airplanes. You know, they have a check valve. It's a one way valve, and it's almost like, or it better might be a filter where anything that confirms their persona or the mask of deception or whatever that they have about themselves, anything that confirms that, they can hear it. They'll accept it. But anything that doesn't confirm this persona, this facade they maintain about themselves, anything that doesn't confirm that, they just kind of, they'll ignore it. They'll argue against it. They'll deny it. They have a myriad of ways of deflecting away from anything that might pull that down. And this is why you'll see some people come into, um, they'll come into an assembly, they'll come into a home community or whatever, they'll get around the saints. And when the saints begin to love them, and I'm not talking about the bubblegum love that the world talks about, I'm talking about biblical love where they see where you're they see where you might be walking, and you're not on the right path, and they'll try to correct you. And this is how people will maintain their persona or their facade, their false persona or whatever that they maintain. It's just by, in some way, shape, or form, deflecting anything that doesn't confirm their false reality. And what ends up happening, and I've seen it to the extreme where everybody's telling them about this thing, you know, and the evidence is like is blatantly obvious, but it's like because of pride, because of fear, because of you name it, whatever rejection, with whatever that dynamic might be, they find a way to deny it. And in order to cut through, like the uh, title of this show is, in order to cut through the facade is warfare, it's combat, it's going to be painful, it's going to be gold being tried in the fire, it's going to be the furnace of affliction. To really look at yourself. Man, I can't drill this in hard enough that this is the battle that we all fight. You know what I'm saying? Is self-examination, man, and pulling down these false personas and these facades that we walk around with. And what does the world seek to do? What if you look at the social decorum of society, it actually fights to help people maintain their facades and false personas. If you want to know an extreme example of what I'm talking about, look no further than our society and the public school system and the current thing where people can self-identify as a whatever the heck they want, gender confusion and all that stuff like that. You know, somebody was telling me uh, I was talking to somebody and they were telling me out in Arizona, some at a school, this girl in I guess it was like his one of his relatives, but this girl in her class, one of the students identified as a cat, and they had a cat litter box in the classroom. Now, and this like in elementary school or something like that, you know. So it's like whatever facade, like again, Satan rules this society. So the social decorum, the social practices of this uh, beast culture we live around, we shouldn't be all living in it, but that we live around, they encourage you to, oh no, just get along with them. Oh no, don't tell them the truth. Just let them be comfortable with what they're doing. Like, and I'm showing it on a more extreme level, but this is the underlying sentiment or mindset of a lot of people because of the conditioning of this culture that, hey, if they see their brother, you know, like the best way I could put it is going along to get along. A lot of people practice that, you know, and nobody's gonna sit there and say, hey man, you need to do this, or hey, you need to do that, might want to do this, and try to guide somebody in the right direction, let alone do it to themselves and come into that reality, because people have been conditioned to never realize what they might be operating in or even consider self-examination and really looking within and questioning themselves and everything like that. It just doesn't get pushed, and that's the best way if you're Satan to let people just go through their whole life operating in deception. Y'all put a 100 up in there if that makes sense. What I'm saying, if you understand and that resonates. Um, but yeah, that's the that's the reality. That is the reality of uh, what goes on. And this is, man, this is where Satan really be putting in work at hard, is making sure you don't examine yourself. Because look, as you begin to develop develop the what's a good word to use? The boldness. I think that's a good word to use. Is you begin to develop the boldness to cut through the facade, as you begin to develop the boldness to face the persona that you present yourself as. And there's something in you, the spirit in you knows deep down that, yeah, this ain't the real, whatever. But you try to push it down. Um, but but Satan knows as you begin to develop that boldness, to just stand and face that and just slowly ease in and begin to consider that. As you begin to do that, you it it is just that it's a facade, it's like a hard house. It begins to fall so easily when you approach it in the right way, I would say. Um, but it's about uh, diligence, it's about consistency, and it's about having that boldness and that willingness to really want to have life and have it more abundantly, and not knowing deep down, oh yeah, I'm operating under in under a facade, under a false persona, you know. But yeah, so but that's what I wanted to bring out today. Bring that to awareness, and also I want to make sure I do this because I definitely um dug into that and got granular with that enough. But now what? So how do you expose, or how do you see through, cut through, destroy the false persona, the facade? It's simple, studying the word, looking at it. And the process I lay out is journaling. Like write down what you're seeing in yourself, what's there. One of the best times to see your facade, one of the best times to see this persona you put up, this fake persona, one of the best times to see it is when you're emotional. And I'm saying emotional in a bad way, where maybe you're upset with something or whatever. Those are the times when you can really see yourself on display. But those are the times that we've conditioned ourselves over time to just shut off and not even have our conscious mind in action. A lot of times we just are completely given over to those emotions and we run with it. We let them hijack our mind, our spirit, and everything, and we just go with that. But that is the best time to observe these things. Write them down, journal them, and see. Get in the word, because once the emotions settle back down, it's almost like one of those snow globes with the water in it, and you shake it up, and you can see all the little snowflakes falling. And then if you let it sit, eventually everything will settle back down, and you're not even aware that that stuff is in there. So the best time is again when you're shooken up and everything's floating around and it's on display. Emotions are. The last thing in the world you want to do is sit there and write about what you're feeling. But what you'll find is that that is one of the things that will make the emotions go away the quickest. And it's also one of the things that's going to allow you to, when the emotions do go away and you're back in your right mind, it will allow you to go in the word and study exactly what you have going on. And it's just a repeated process of that, consistently and diligently, just doing that and praying and fasting, seeking the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Listening, being in tune with the Holy Spirit, doing all these things that will bring change, that will break that facade down. Um, not an overnight thing, and you got to know that. Interesting um, analogy, maybe is the right way to say it, that I heard. They were talking about a bamboo tree. A bamboo tree, they were saying the roots will be growing in the ground for a while, and nothing will pop up in the soil. And then all of a sudden, boom, the bamboo tree will pop up, and I mean, it grow. They said it grows, it shoots up after that, and it just grows. And that's the way this process is. That's the way anything of any meaning or value is diligent work, 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 no result, just work, work, work. Even lifting weights. I think I lifted weights for like 3, 4 months, really didn't see anything substantial, and then after 4 months, start seeing stuff in a major way. So I think that's the process with anything of value. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, y'all, with that said, I appreciate all y'all tuning in. I'm Michael Israel. You're watching Spiritual Combat. Shalom, shalom.